Hello and good morning. Welcome back to yoga. Today we're going to be doing lots of twisting. Twisting is so great for the body, not only for the spine to just help nourish and move it and keep it nice and limber. It also helps to strengthen all those back muscles that run along the spine, but also through the front of our bodies as well. We often think about twisting as just for the spine, but as we do so, we're also twisting through this whole abdominal section, which not only helps stimulate those digestive organs, all those important organs that are along the inside of the torso here, as well as just strengthen the core and just keep it nice and limber and able to help get us through our daily lives. And then one little trauma benefit from twisting is it also helps to open and release through that psoas muscle, that really deep seated muscle that is not only a hip stabilizer, hip flexor, but has a lot to do with our nervous system. So as we start to move through that psoas muscle forward and back, side to side, it helps release a lot of the tension, the tightness, the memories, and the stress that gets stored in that psoas muscle from various experiences that we go through. So lots of benefits there in our twisting. We're going to do a little flow, add some twists in throughout, and hopefully you enjoy. So we're going to begin standing. Go ahead and find a comfortable stance. Feet can be far apart, close together, wherever you feel more steady, but try to find a little bend in those knees so we can really ground down into those feet. Now maybe try lifting up all 10 of those toes just for a moment. Peek down at those toes, see if we can create a little bit of space in between each one, and then reconnect each one of those toes with the mat. But really important through the big toe, through the little toes, and the back of that heel, so we can evenly ground down into those feet. So nice and strong through those legs. Try to lift up through those knees, even though they're a little bent. We don't want to lock them out. Just starting to engage through the thighs, engaging through that core as we draw in and upwards. So let's take a few circles with those shoulders as we begin to find our nice tall posture. And next time those shoulders come down the back, go ahead and let them relax down the back as we actively reach down through those fingertips. So starting to feel a little subtle energy start to run through the body as we start to engage some of those larger muscles. But feel free to close those eyes here. Again, just for these first few moments. Beginning to shift our focus away from everything that's constantly going on around us to the present moment. And you know me, I like to do that with the breath. So take this time to notice how you're breathing. Maybe every now and then bringing that awareness back to that connection with your feet and the ground beneath you. Or maybe today that's a little easier to focus on rather than the breath. So finding what works for you best today. And then maybe on that next breath in, we're just going to lift those shoulders up towards those ears, just like you're shrugging the shoulders. And on the breath out, maybe try breathing out through the mouth. So you let those shoulders relax. Inhaling through the nose, so those shoulders rise, and maybe on the exhale, you breathe out through the mouth. Just once more like that. Nice deep breath in. Long breath out. And then let's move those arms a little bit as we continue to breathe, inhaling as they lift up. Maybe those hands connect to the top, and exhaling, hands down to your heart center. Again, inhale, sweeping those arms out and up. Exhaling, hands to our heart and back down along those sides. We're just going to let those arms relax, maybe shake them out a few times. And then we're going to start to find some movement side to side as we begin to move into some gentle twists. So don't worry about going super far in either direction. So we're just starting to wake up the body. Moving around a little bit. Maybe as we twist here, you can connect one hand with the opposite leg as you go to one side and then the other. Oh, we're staying nice and grounded through those feet as we continue to move. A few more times, just side to side. Maybe let those arms come out a little bit wider as you twist. And then slowly coming back to center. Next breath in, let's reach those arms back up. Bringing those hands together at the top. If you'd like, you can interlace those fingers and turn palms facing up. And then on the breath out, just leaning or reaching up and over to one side. And then we'll inhale up through center. Let's try the other side. Just reaching up and over, nice little side bend. Inhaling back up to center, and on that breath out, we're gonna open those arms and just turn to one side. Actively reaching out through both arms, all those fingertips. And then let's inhale back up through center. Maybe those hands connect at the top, and then exhaling as they open out, twisting to the other side. And then we'll inhale, arms all the way up. On that breath out, let's find our forward fold. Bending those knees, hinging at those hips, and just releasing the crown of the head down towards the floor. Feel free to gently sway side to side. Maybe you just move through the head and the neck, or maybe you sway those hips back and forth. Keeping that nice soft bend through those knees, releasing some of that tension through the lower back. And then slowly coming back to center. Let's keep both hands on the floor. We'll step those feet all the way back as we lift those hips high and find our downward dog. Feel free to walk out those heels a few times. Just bending one knee towards the floor as you reach the opposite heel down. Then switching sides. And then as both heels come back to center, let's inhale forward. Finding that plank, bringing shoulders above those wrists. Maybe the knees come down to the floor as well as we untuck those toes. And then exhaling all the way down to the chest and the belly. We're going to stay here for a few breaths. So maybe on our inhale, we just lift our shoulders off the mat. Just a tiny little baby cobra. And then exhaling, lowering back down. Inhaling, maybe we lift a little bit higher, lifting the chest off the mat as well. And then exhaling as you lower. Inhale, maybe put a little bit more weight into those hands. So we lift a tiny bit higher. If that feels okay, you can always stay in that baby cobra if you'd rather. And just one more time here, inhaling as we lift. And exhaling. Let's lower all the way down. Keeping those hands under those shoulders, let's tuck our toes. We'll inhale up to those knees. Exhaling, hips reach back. And once again, just gently swaying side to side. Just starting to create a little more space. Not only through the lower part of the back, but through those hips, through those shoulders. Creating that space so we can safely twist. All right, go ahead and bring those hips back to center, those arms extending forward. Slowly we'll begin to lift the hips, lift the knees, finding that downward dog once again. And let's turn that gaze forward. We'll step those feet to the front of our mat. Nice deep bend in those knees. Let's inhale, slowly rise all the way up to standing. Maybe you bring those arms up with you. And then on our exhale, we're gonna find our chair. So just dropping those hips. However far you want to bend into those knees is totally up to you, but maybe look down, see if you can see those toes. Awesome. All right. As our hands connect with one another, we want to inhale. Try to draw those shoulders back, lifting tall through the crown of the head and draw in and upwards through that core, nice and strong. And then on the exhale, we're just going to turn to one side. Again, just a little twist here, keeping those palms connected. Inhaling as we come back to center. Exhaling, let's twist to the other side. Staying strong through that core, strong through those feet. Inhaling back up to center. Let's lift all the way up. And then exhale, side out as you forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling as we fold. You can step those feet back. Let's find that downward dog. Lifting those hips high. And then inhaling forward to your plank on your knees or your toes. Exhaling, elbows bend. Lowering all the way down to the chest and the belly. And then inhale, lifting the heart in your cobra, or maybe you lift the legs as well, upward dog. Exhale, making your way back to that downward dog. Turning that gaze forward. Maybe you step, maybe you hop to the front of your space. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhaling, forward fold. Deep bend in those knees, so we use our legs to help us stand. Inhaling as we rise. And then exhaling, let's find that chair. Take a moment to notice how you're breathing. And then maybe that next breath in, again, we re-engage from the lower belly all the way up to the crown of the head. And then exhaling as we twist to one side. Inhaling back to center. Exhaling, let's twist to the other side. Inhaling back to center and all the way up. Exhale, side out as we fold. Hands come to the floor, but this time we're just going to step our right foot to the back. All right, let's lower down to that right knee, untucking those toes, finding our kneeling lunge, so adjusting as needed. And then we'll inhale, lifting our arms. And then exhaling, let's find that twist, turning to our left. Again, the hands can connect with one another. Maybe they're out in front of you, or maybe you'd like to keep those thumbs connected to the heart. Either way, pausing for 2 more breaths. Lifting nice and tall through the crown of the head. But with each breath out, try to drop those shoulders. Maybe you turn that gaze towards that back shoulder. And then on an inhale, we'll slowly untwist, coming back to center. Hands come to the floor, lifting that back knee off the floor so you can step the front foot back to that downward dog. And feel free to walk out those heels or shake out the hips. Inhaling as we come forward to our plank. Let's come to those knees and exhale, lowering all the way down to the chest and the belly. But this time, we're going to bring these arms out to the side, slightly out in front. I know you can't really see my fingertips, sorry about that. But hands are on the floor, just like little fingertips on the mat. All right, as we breathe in, we're going to ground down into those fingertips and gently lift the shoulders, lift the chest as high as is comfortable for you on your back. You can always come to your forearms if you'd rather here. And then on the breath out, we're just going to drop that right shoulder down towards the mat. Just a little dip, taking that twist into the upper back. Inhaling as we come back up to center. Exhaling, let's drop the left shoulder down, turning that gaze to the right. Inhaling back up to center. Exhaling as we lower all the way down. Go ahead and bring those hands back by or underneath those shoulders. We'll inhale up to those knees. Exhaling, hips reach back. Give yourself a little pause here, about 3 breaths in your child's pose. Always an option for you to stay and hold, or you can move side to side, forward and back. All right, slowly coming back to center, grounding down into those fingertips, into the palms as we lift those knees, lifting the hips. Let's find that downward dog once again. And then let's bend through our right knee. We're going to draw the right knee towards those hands, and then we'll step that foot to the front. You can always reach back and help that ankle forward. Lowering down to that left knee, getting set in your lunge. So adjusting those feet as needed. And then we'll inhale. Let's bring those arms all the way up. And exhaling, hands through our heart center as we turn to our right side. So maybe those shoulders stay right above the hips, or maybe you reach that left hip forward as they sink down to the mat, just depending on what works for you today. Again, also options, you can keep your hand on your knee, or one hand to your hip, or hands on the floor. 2 more breaths as we pause in this twist. Finding the breath, noticing what's going on in the body here. Maybe you inhale and slowly come back to center. Maybe we were a little wobbly, shaky, maybe not. Go ahead and bring hands to the floor. We'll step that back foot to the front. Let's find that forward fold once again. Nice deep breath in as we lift halfway. Really try to lengthen the spine here as the crown of the head reaches forward, the tailbone reaches back. And then exhaling, forward fold. Nice deep bend in those knees. And inhale, slowly making your way up to standing. On that exhale, one more time, we're going to find our chair. Hips reaching down and back. Crown of the head is reaching forward and up. Maybe you want to stay at center and you don't want to do a twist. That's totally okay. But if you'd like, inhale as we engage and lengthen. Exhale as we twist to one side. Maybe peek at those knees. See if we can keep them alongside one another as much as we can. And then we'll inhale back to center. And exhale, let's twist to the other side. Inhaling back to center, go ahead and lift all the way up. And then exhale, forward fold. Go ahead and sigh it out through the mouth. Inhaling, halfway lift. And exhaling as we fold. Once more, we're going to step that right foot to the back. This time, let's keep that right knee lifted. But you can always lower it to the mat if you'd rather. Always options, just listening to your body. Go ahead and inhale. Let's lift all the way up to our high crescent lunge. One more twist here. On our exhale, we're going to open those arms out to the sides as we turn to the left towards that front knee. So it's a little balance. Really use that back leg for support, whether the knee is on the floor or if the knee is lifted, actively try to lift it away from the floor so we stay strong through those legs. Maybe feel a little work, a little energy happening through that front leg as well. Let's come back to that breath. One more full breath here. Awesome. And then go ahead and inhale those arms back up to center as we face forward. And let's exhale, dropping that back heel to the floor. Maybe you step it in a little closer. And we're just going to fold over that front leg. Getting a nice little stretch in our pyramid. Now again, always feel free to step that back foot in closer if it's hard to keep this front leg straight. Your hands can totally stay on those hips, maybe on the thigh, maybe on the shin, maybe on the floor. It's going to be different for each one of us. And just breathe. Where do you feel maybe a stretch or a sensation, a lengthening? What can you do to adjust or modify to make this work a little better for you? We'll just take one more full breath here. And then as you feel ready, slowly bending that front knee so both hands can come to the floor, and we'll step the front foot to the back, downward dog. And maybe walk out those heels, maybe not. All right, next breath in, let's come forward. We're gonna come back to that plank, lowering to those knees, exhaling, elbows bend as we lower all the way to the chest and the belly. This time as we inhale, let's come up to those forearms and those elbows. So elbows are directly under those shoulders, palms on the floor. We'll inhale as we lift the crown of the head up. Exhale as we draw those shoulders down. Inhaling as the heart reaches forward through those arms. Exhaling as the shoulders drop back. And then maybe on that next breath out, lowering all the way back down to the mat. Hands can come under those shoulders. We'll inhale up to those knees. Exhaling, hips reach back. 3 breaths in that child's pose. Maybe you rest your forehead on the floor. Maybe it hovers. You might try turning those palms facing up to get a little different opening through those shoulders. And just one more breath here in this child's pose, or however long you need. And then when you feel ready, we'll just bring those palms back to the mat. Beginning to lift those hips, tucking the toes, lifting the knees, downward facing dog. And then just bending into that right knee, slowly drawing it forward as we step that foot towards the front of our mats, helping that ankle forward if needed. Again, your choice, you can lower to that back knee or you can keep it lifted off the floor. Let's inhale nice and tall. So we lift the torso, lifting those arms, reaching all the way up towards the ceiling. And then maybe on the exhale, try to keep the torso lifted. All we do is open those arms, turning our shoulders and our gaze to the right. Finding that base. You can always reach for something and hold on to it to help with that balance. Maybe you lower to that back knee, or maybe you re-engage through that back leg, lifting the knee away from the floor, softening through those shoulders. Maybe we can soften through the gaze. One more full breath here. And then as you inhale, facing forward once again, and exhale, let's step that back foot in a little bit as we hinge at those hips. Gently, slowly folding over that front leg. Let's find this pyramid stretch. You might let that chin relax a little closer to the chest. Maybe you need to adjust those feet a little bit more. Gently try to draw that back hip a little closer to the front foot. And we just pause. What do we notice when we pause? Maybe we can bring that focus back to the body, what we might feel in this stretch, how the body's responding, what we can do differently. And then as you feel ready, maybe you start to bend that front knee so both hands can come to the floor. Go ahead and step back with that front foot. Finding that downward dog one last time. And then we're going to lower down to those knees. Swinging those feet around to the side, out in front, so we have a seat on our mats. All right, so with those legs extended, let's go ahead and keep that right leg out in front of us. We're just gonna bring this left foot across over to the outside of that right leg, so our knee is pointing up. Sitting up nice and tall here, finding a nice long spine. Now maybe you wrap that right arm around that left knee, and the left hand can come behind the body to the floor. Nice deep breath in as we re-engage, again just lifting. We always want to lengthen before we twist, so we have that space to do so. We're not compressing the spine. And then on the exhale, you can start that twist. Turning those shoulders, maybe you turn the gaze, or maybe you just find tiny little movements with the breath. Like each breath in, we sit up a little bit taller. Each breath out, maybe we drop those shoulders and twist a tiny bit deeper. One more full breath here as we inhale and lift, exhaling and twist. And then go ahead and slowly unwind as we face the front once again. We're just going to keep this left knee bent, and we're just going to bring that ankle right above the knee here. Now feel free to adjust your seat if needed. You can keep the hands on that left leg if you'd like, or they can come to the floor. Sometimes if we're feeling a little extra tight, it helps to bring those hands behind the body. And you can gently lift as you inhale, and then start to hinge at those hips as you exhale. So feel free to keep those hands behind you, or if you want to walk them forward towards that right foot, feel free to do that. Maybe flexing through both of those feet to not only help open, protect the knee here, but taking that stretch a little more through the back of that right leg. One more breath here as we inhale, finding a little lift through the torso. Exhaling as we fold a tiny bit deeper. And then inhale as you use those hands to help yourself walk back up to a seat. Oh, the sun is coming out. Sorry for the glare. All right, let's go ahead and switch those legs. So we'll keep that left leg extended, and we'll cross the right foot over to the outside of that left knee. Feel free to wrap that left arm around your knee. Right hand can come behind the body to the floor. And nice deep breath in as we lift and lengthen. And then exhaling as we start to turn to that right side. Gently drawing that knee in closer to that shoulder. And once again, you might use that breath to go a tiny bit deeper with each breath out. Inhaling as we lift through the crown of the head, exhaling, softening, not only through the shoulders, but you might be able to soften through the gaze, through the core. And just one more breath here. Slowly unwinding as you feel ready, and we're just going to open that right knee, dropping it down towards the floor. That right knee or right ankle is just above that left knee. Flexing through both feet here. Feel free to keep your hands on the floor, maybe on the front of your leg or out in front. Let's just inhale though and rise, drawing in from that belly all the way up, and then exhaling as we hinge forward. Trying to reach with the heart rather than the head. Reaching the heart towards the toes, reaching the toes towards the heart. Once again, you can use that breath here as well, just like we did in that twist. Each breath in, just finding a tiny little subtle lift and lengthen through the spine. And then each breath out, you might be able to fold a tiny bit deeper. One more full breath here. And then as you feel ready, you can use those hands to walk yourself back up, uncrossing those legs. All right, and then we're going to bring both knees up. Go ahead and scoot to the front of your space. We're going to lower down onto our back. So just make sure you have that space behind you. Lowering all the way down. Maybe bring those knees with you and towards the chest. You can make a few circles with those knees. Or if it feels better on that lower back, you can just lower those feet to the floor. All right, so let's all bring those knees back to center. We're gonna do one last twist. It's my favorite twist. I do it at the end of almost every workout. This is so great, not only for the spine, but also for the shoulders, the chest, and the mind. All right, so as we draw those knees in, we're gonna lower both knees over towards the left side. Go ahead and roll onto that left hip. And then this right arm, we're just gonna reach the right arm up overhead. The top of the hand might touch the floor, it might not, just depending on your shoulder there. And then very slowly, we're just gonna guide that right hand over to the right side. But just going nice and slow so you can notice each spot along the way. You might find a spot that feels a little tighter than others, and maybe you wanna stay and hold there for a few breaths. I'm sorry, hopefully you can't hear that tummy growling. And you can continue to move that right arm, or you can just stay and hold once you come into that twist. You might try turning your gaze to the right as well if that feels okay on the neck. And again, that might be something that just happens slowly with that breath. And as we take 3 full breaths here, I really try to breathe deeply all the way down into the belly. And then on the breath out, just allowing the rest of the body to soften. All right, when you feel ready, and if you have time, feel free to stay here longer. Otherwise, you can draw those knees slowly back up to center and then over to the right side. Rolling onto that right hip. And maybe that left arm reaches up overhead first. And then very slowly, you can even do one breath at a time if that works for you. Beginning to guide or reach that left arm out to the side. Maybe you turn your gaze with your hand. Maybe you meet it there after. And you might continue to move that arm up and down, or you can just stay and hold in that twist. Sometimes I like to bring the other hand, my right hand, onto the belly here, just to help feel that breath in the belly, reminding myself to take it a little deeper if it feels okay. But with each breath out, just allowing the body to sink a little deeper into this twist. About 3 more breaths here. And then when you feel ready, bringing the gaze up to center, engaging the core to bring those knees back up to center. Go ahead and lower those feet flat to the floor as everything comes back to the middle. And feel free to just give yourself a few minutes here. Just taking a brief Shavasana to help the body just absorb all the twists, all the movement, the strengthening, the stretching that it's just done. You can extend those legs out in front of you, or you can keep your feet on the floor. But I am going to leave you here, so feel free to slowly come out of it when you are ready. But thank you for joining me today. Please drink lots of water today. Those twists also release lots of toxins that those internal organs are kind of holding on to. So I want to flush that out. But again, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.